Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. St. Lucia's former UN and CARICOM ambassador Earl Huntley says the island may be jeopardizing its foreign relations by its action of joining the Lima Group, which does not view the presidency of Nicolas Maduro as being legitimate. Huntley says that the constant contradictions made by this government as it relates to Venezuela does not augur well for the island. Solange Alfred reports.
There has been much talk about St. Lucia's stance on Venezuela and Maduro's presidency. The government of St. Lucia, as part of the Lima Group, consisting of Argentina, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, Jamaica, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, and Peru, has spoken out against Maduro, calling his presidency illegitimate. In a sit-down interview with St. Lucia's former UN and CARICOM ambassador, Earl Huntley, he expressed a sense of bewilderment at St. Lucia's involvement in the group and is of the opinion that the government's stance on the entire matter is one riddled with contradictions.
The Lima Group was really formed to be an anti-Venezuela clique to try to bring about change in Venezuela. And particularly when you look at the countries that are there, Brazil, Colombia, these are countries that are in fact affected by what is happening in Venezuela because of the migration of so many Venezuelans. So that when St. Lucia joined the group, it was by the mere fact of joining, taking an anti-Venezuela stance in the country with a country we have had such good relations. But what was even more contradictory was when it did not recognize President Maduro at the OAS vote, which I suppose was natural being a member of the Lima Group, but at the same time accepting the ambassadors here and saying that you're not interfering in its internal affairs. Once you did not recognize the government, you are in fact interfering in its internal affairs by definition.
He says that the government has made efforts to correct certain wrong moves that it has made thus far with the Venezuela issue.
I think they have tried to readjust by taking part in being a participatory state in the CARICOM meeting that was held last week, and the CARICOM communique asking for mediation and for peaceful settlement of the crisis in Venezuela.
Huntley stated that in an eventuality where President Nicolas Maduro is able to hold on to his presidency, this could then jeopardize St. Lucia's relationship with a country that it still considers an ally.
Let us assume that he is able to hold on to power and to stay on for the next, 3-4 years until the next elections. There would therefore be some kind of strain between President Maduro's government and the government in St. Lucia because of what has happened. The visa policy was all part of being a member of the Lima Group, and therefore one has to ask, what is St. Lucia doing in the Lima Group? Is St. Lucia there as a result of the U.S. pressure trying to get support for their position against Venezuela? And what is happening in Venezuela, the U.S. pressure on Venezuela, is really, if one studies Latin American history, is a classic example of America trying to do regime change in a Latin American country, which they have done before, consistently.
Huntley says there is a need for continued dialogue among CARICOM nations. The bigger picture at hand, he says, remains the pressure being applied on the people of Venezuela, who in the grand scheme of things continue to suffer. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Thank you, Solange. Lucelec's customer service office at Vieux-Fort closed on Monday, the 28th of January, and will remain so until further notice to facilitate unforeseen and urgent maintenance. The Vieux-Fort office closure is necessary to ensure customers and staff can make use of the building safely and comfortably. The closure of the office will not affect the quality and reliability of the electricity supply to the south. The company reminds customers in the south who would normally transact business at its Vieux-Fort office that there are several other options available to them to ensure they are not unduly inconvenienced. Customers can make bill payments at Shopee outlets or via the financial institutions that offer that service. Customers will be advised as soon as the Viewfort office reopens. In other news, former Gender Relations Minister Sarah Flood Bobra has a solemn message for today's youth, warning them about the negative impact that poor usage of social media could have on their future. Meanwhile, the Education Minister issues a warning to people who misuse the platform to harm or exploit the youth, saying they will face the law. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
Following the reports of a staged protest by a number of students at a secondary school in Castries, after a fellow student was suspended for his part in a leaked pornographic video, which made its way to social media, one government minister has issued a cautionary message to users of social media. Former Gender Relations Minister Sarah Flood Bobra's message was especially aimed at the youth, who spend noticeably more time using the different platforms. She said today's actions could lead to tomorrow's downfalls.
Nowadays, you go to a job interview and the employer has already checked up on you. And you may think that you're going to a party and you'll get drunk and it's okay. And you put that on social media. And then the employer checks out who is coming to see me. And he wants to know who you really are. I mean, you will present your best face, but if he sees you when you will just yourself, so that can have far-reaching implications. So we have to be careful what we put on social media. We are young today, light-hearted and happy, but we will grow older and we will get mature, and we will want to present a different image of ourselves. We would have learned different things along the way. We would have matured. Let us not let our mistakes, which all of us make, cripple us for a lifetime, and that's a lesson for all of us.
The minister said the youth are not the only ones susceptible to such pitfalls, and while social media has its perks, the lows are easy to come by as well.
We live in a world now where anything that goes out there takes on a life of its own, and it's for all of us. I mean, the internet is great. We're able to communicate, we're able to do business. We don't have to leave our homes to have a thriving business, but that is the danger that's associated. And it's something that we all have to be aware of, not just students. I mean, students are young people are young, and sometimes they don't see the dangers. And even we adults, we don't see the dangers of these things.
Dr. Gail Rigobert, who is the island's Minister for Education, was also questioned about the incident, and although she refrained from going into details on the matter, in order to avoid jeopardizing police investigations, she said policy is currently being reviewed to tackle the issue on a whole.
We recognize that our regulations, policies, laws must be in step and in tune with innovative criminal activities or deviant behavior, to the extent that, in fact, one of the things we did discuss with the top brass on Monday was the issue of revenge porn, and how much more we can do to protect those who are harmed, but also what more we can do from a punitive measure in terms of those who are involved, those behind the cameras, those setting up the scene, or in any way implicated.
Dr. Rigobert said the matter will be discussed in an upcoming meeting, where they will ensure that the right policies are implemented and that they have some bite to them. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
The issue of youth participation in gambling is an ever-growing concern from members of society, and now government officials are speaking out and saying that the public has to play its part to stamp out this social ill.
The issue in regards to youth participation in gambling has now been brought before Minister for Equity and Empowerment, Leonard Spider Montoute, on the heels of a spirited press release written by Superintendent Minister of the Methodist Church, Reverend Seth Ampadu, which highlighted the negative impacts of gambling on a society. According to Montoute, the proper structure already exists to deal with such problems. However, he implored citizens to take action and report any instance where establishments allow minors to participate in gambling.
Strict regulations in place to deal with such situations. What has to be done is that we enforce those regulations and ensure that these situations are not violated. And in the case where people are aware that such situations exist, where minors are allowed to participate in those prohibitive actions for minors, they, as responsible citizens, should make a report so that the matter can be dealt with.
Meanwhile, Former Grosile MP Emma Hippolyte touted a more definitive approach to limiting youth gambling.
We definitely have to remove some of these machines all over the place. It is too accessible to the children and especially single parents. I'm concerned about that.
Emma asserted that although the monies gained from certain gambling efforts go towards the development of youth and sports programs on island, she is of the opinion that other initiatives can be put forth to generate capital without growing a nation of gamblers. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solaj Alfred.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News. We'll be right back.